fast. When I get to the following Sunday, God said, you're going to go until next month on the 15th. And now I'm thinking like, Lord, like, come on now, like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, I made peace with it, because if God was calling me to this fast, then I had to change my focus on what I would gain more than what I would lose. And so during this 40 days, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would pray for hours. I would go to work, I would get off work, I would go back into prayer for hours. I spent a lot of time in the word, I spent a lot of time in prayer, I spent a lot of time just seeking God and just surrendering myself to God. And during this time, there were moments where my wife was throwing a fit. She felt like she was being neglected. She felt like certain ways I wasn't showing up for her. And it really was frustrating me, because I want to be there for my wife how she wants me to be, but I also want to be obedient and submit to this fast how God is calling me to submit. And so I remember praying, I remember crying out to God one night. I'm like, Lord, all I want to do is what you told me to do. And God said to me, just like Nehemiah told Sanballat, Geshem, and Tobiah, God said, why must the work cease that you come down to her? He said, you keep doing what I told you to do, and I'll deal with her. I still loved on her. I still showed her attention. I still showed her affection, but I was busy still. I still had to work, and I still had to do my daily functions. But when I wasn't working and doing some of the things that I needed to do so our house could operate like it's supposed to, during this 40 days, I would say 85% of my time was either spent in the word, spent in worship, or spent in prayer. I was like Jacob. I was going to wrestle with God until he spoke to me, until he gave me clarity, until he did something that changed something that was happening in my life. I would say probably about 3 days after the fast, my wife came to me and she apologized. She apologized for some things that had went on during the fast, some things that had went on in the last 6 months, some things that had went on in the last year, or even since we was married. Like, she apologized for so many different things. And I would say probably the first 20 days after the fast, she apologized at least 10 of those days. And I got to the point where I'm like, babe, you ain't got to apologize. Like, this stuff, I wasn't holding it against you. Yes, it was affecting me, but a lot of the things that she was apologizing for was ways that I felt, but I never articulated to her. But because I submitted to God, because I submitted to the fast, because I stayed the course, even when it got hard, even when it got frustrating, even when it looked like my own house was in disarray, God dealt with my wife, and she apologized to me day after day after day after day. And after it was all said and done, after the apologies finally subsided, my wife was a whole new person. When she was in her feelings or she was upset, she articulated herself in a healthy way to let me know how I was affecting her. She no longer projected her feelings onto me. I saw my wife getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, so she could read her word, so she can get into the presence of God. I watched my wife be more intentional about her love and her support from me. Like, my wife became a whole new woman. There were so many times that I realized that doing this new version of her, that I was expecting the old response, that I was expecting her to show up like she used to. And having that expectation for her to do that, when she met me with something different,